What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com. My name is Sean Sheehan, and today we are giving you the top 5 bets for the weekend in the world of mixed martial arts. There are 2 big cards this weekend. The PFL have their second show of the year, featuring a very good array of fighters in the featherweight division for this year, the women's featherweight division even. It was the lightweight division last year, down to featherweights this year, and the heavyweight division as well, with a very interesting fight between Bruno Cappelozza and Scheffel in the co-main event, as well as a very interesting main event as well between Pacheco and Bud. I have a preview of that. It's already out on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. But we also have the massive UFC card, UFC 287, between Pereira and Adesanya, a rematch as well, like the Cappelozza Scheffel matches. So a good few. It feels like we're in the era of rematches almost now, but especially like in the month, 30 days maybe, rather than the month of rematches, considering we just went into a new month. But we've had a lot of them recently. Obviously, we had the Edwards one. We have this one. We have the Cappelozza fight over in PFL. And it's always interesting to analyse him, and I will get into that more, because I want to talk about especially the Adesanya Pereira fight here, because that is one of my bets. Let's recap last week though before we get in to next week. Not the greatest week in the world, although, and this is kind of a tip for every week, if you just listen to the top 5 bets, I think you're missing out. You need to listen to what comes afterwards as well, because I gave a couple of good bets in like the recap of the cards afterwards. Raheem Cleveland was one who, I'm not exactly sure the price he won, but he was over plus 300, I believe, and I gave him as a pick, so I think that is a good one as well. But in my 5 bets last week, I only got 1 of the 4 bets correct, and the flyer didn't hit. So the bets I didn't get correct, Zingano and McCourt doesn't go to a decision. It did go to a decision, but if you watch that fight, it could have been finished multiple times, especially in that second round. So I'd find that a little bit unfortunate there, and it's plus 250 as well. Thiago Santos, that was just an incorrect call. I know someone in the comment section was kind of giving out to me for that bet, saying I was capping the guy up for what he used to be. And you know what? I've done that again this week, right? But I've done it in my flyer this week, so I don't mind it in the flyer. But I think the comment section was good last week, and they set me straight on that one for future, although I kind of ignored it this week. Chris Wade lost to Bubba Jenkins. I think that was a shock to most people. But the one that did come off was Will Fleury at plus 250. He opened up at plus 370, I think. I think he did go off around the plus 190, but when the video came out, it was around plus 250. So that's a pretty good bet. I think, you mightn't have come out too bad if you did all of them, considering the Will Fleury one. I'm sure some people got a plus 300, some people got a plus 200, so not a bad bet. And then the flyer bet was James to get the knockout in round 1 at plus 675, and he got it in round 3, unfortunately. So you saw where I was going with that one. Round 1 and 2 literally just the worst rounds of the year, with them hugging each other against the cage. It was absolutely awful. I love Jason Herzog, but I'm like, come on Jason, break them up there, and he didn't. But anyway, so not the greatest weekend last weekend, but we move forward. We overall 41 bets given, 20 correct, so not bad, and 4 of the 11 overall in the flyers. So I'm happy with that 4 for the first half of the year, if I'm being honest. If I can get 1 more in the next few weeks, I'll be very, very happy. But the flyer bets, as we said, are just for fun. But I'm still around 50% in the main bets, so I will definitely take that. Right, let's get into it here for next week. And I'm going to fly kind of back and forth between the PFL and the UFC here. So I have 3 from the PFL, and I have 1 from... I have 3 from the UFC and 2 from the PFL. So I think when you look at the top 2 fights in the UFC, they're very different for a couple of reasons, and the reasons I think are because one of them is very much No, I wouldn't say maybe a guarantee, but one of them is very much one-sided and one of them is very, very hard to call. And I'm going for the guarantee first. And I'm going for the Burns fight. No, I'm not going for a guaranteed bet. I'm going for a little bit of a different bet to get us a little bit of better odds on the fight. And just to tell you the odds straight up for that one, it is Gilbert Burns minus 450 plus 350 for Masvidal. But the bet I'm going for, I was surprised to see it's such a good price. Burns to win inside the distance at plus 115. Now, I think that's a fantastic bet. I would say that is my bet of the week. Gilbert Burns is just a better fighter than Masvidal. Like, Masvidal has went on that, he's always been a good fighter, a good pro. I suppose you would put it that way, kind of middle of the pack for a lot of his career. And then he had that amazing stretch over, a year, 18 months, where he knocked out Till, he knocked out Askren, and there was someone else in there as well, wasn't there? There was another very good knockout, and he got his couple of title shots, and we know what's kind of happened since. And that felt like it was very much kind of, to me, the autumn of his career, because he hasn't really been fighting much since he fought. The Colby thing happened and all there, so we kind of... we know where Masvidal is right now. We also kind of know where Burns is. And where Burns is like, Dana White said there recently about if Kamaru Usman didn't exist, that Colby Covington would be guaranteed to be like the next guy. He would have been the champion that whole time, if not for him. Now, I would put to that Gilbert Burns exists. I would put to that Chimaev exists as well, who himself and Burns had an almighty fight with, and we haven't seen Burns versus Covington yet. So I definitely think that's a foolish thing to say, but it wouldn't be the first time for Dana White. But that's how good he is. That is the level. Like, if you look at his last few fights, destroyed Magny inside a round. Like fight of the year candidate with Chimaev, beat Wonderboy, he's up, where is he? Up there behind me on the wall, one of my favourite fighters. Okay, he lost to Usman, he beat Woodley before that, beat Maya, beat Gunny Nelson, like taking on all the best grapplers in the division and beating them, and he's shown. I remember talking to Ian Gary before he actually went and even trained with Gilbert Burns, I think, and he was kind of saying like, Gilbert, how do you beat Gilbert? Like, he's such a good striker, he's such a good wrestler, he's such a good jiu-jitsu guy. Like, it's very hard to beat him. And I think Masvidal, at this stage of his career, you probably can't say the same for him. Like, he's always had very good takedown defense, and his striking has been good, and then he found that ability to knock lads spark out. Diaz was the other one in there as well, and he didn't knock him spark out, but he got the doctor stoppage after cutting him open and all of that. But my take on this, and the reason why I think that Burns will win and why I'm going for him to win inside the distance, is that I just think he will be able to do kind of what he wants with Masvidal. Now, Masvidal hasn't been finished that many times in his career. 4 times out of 16 losses, 12 have been by decision. And, the more I do this betting show, the less I ignore those sort of stats, and you'll see with a pick of mine later on, I will be not ignoring those stats. But I can't also ignore the stat that he is 38 years of age, 39 this year. I can't ignore the stat that he was knocked spark out 2 fights ago. He was dominated in his fight after that against Colby Covington. That was over a year ago. The fight before that was a year before that. The fight before that was 10 months before that. The fight before that was 8 months before. He's not been fighting that regularly, and no, 1 fight a year at that age is grand, but like, I think it's all kind of playing against him. I really do. I think he's in there against a guy who at this stage of his career is probably a better striker than him. He's a better grappler than him. He's a better, when I say grappler, both wrestling, and jiu-jitsu. If he can take him down, he's in a big, big, big problem. Like, I was looking at the submission bet here, but I'm not sure he won't knock him out in the feet. So I went for the double chance, really, to get the fight finished inside the distance. I really do think, I said it at the start, the main event is a pick 'em fight, hard to know who's going to win. This one, I would be extremely, extremely, extremely surprised if Gilbert Burns didn't destroy Masvidal. I really would be. I really, really would be. Like, Masvidal would need to turn back the clock. He would need to do a career best performance, or he would need to do what he did against Ben Askren and produce, 2-second knockout. That's, I think, what he would need to. So that's my first bet of the week. And I think that's a great price, plus 115. When I saw that price, I really, really could not believe it. I think that's an unbelievable price, so I'm going for that straight up. Right, the next bet I'm giving, number 2, and this one I was surprised to see the price of it, if I'm being honest. And it's Santiago Ponzinibbio against Kevin Holland, and he's plus 201. I see him here in some places. He's up to plus 220 in some places, but he's over plus 200 everywhere against, as I said, Kevin Holland. And the reason I give this is the price alone. And, well, the price plus you can't rely on Kevin Holland. Like, Kevin Holland is one of these guys, like, is he... And he's been feeling like he's a bit mentally more stable recently, but kind of still losing. What if he turns up and he isn't that mentally stable fighter that we can, like, almost expect to happen again at some stage? Like, what if that is the case? I think he has big problems against Ponzinibbio. Like, if you look, he lost to Wonderboy last time out. Wonderboy is one of the best fighters we've ever seen in the history of that division, so there's no shame in that. But he lost to a guy striking. Before that, it was always like he can't wrestle. He's losing to guys wrestling. Whereas Ponzinibbio, look, he's not what he was, and I think it's a more of an even matchup, no problem. But like, Ponzinibbio can wrestle and strike. Like, Ponzinibbio is a good fighter on his day, and as well, like, I feel like his coming back from that injury a couple of years ago has taken a while. Some fighters, it takes them a while to kind of get back into their groove and become the fighter maybe that they once were. Now, some people are just like completely, past their best and they don't do it. Ponzinibbio now at 36 years of age, could that be him? I don't know, but one great sign I got from him was, like, he came back in, from all those injuries in 2021 after 3 years out, and he had a obviously very bad performance against Li Jingliang, getting finished in the first round. Came back against Miguel Baeza, who I actually rate an awful. I know his performances or his results haven't been great, but he went to decision with him, won that. And then he went to 2 decisions in a row against Jeff Neal and Michel Pereira, 2 split decisions. Like, those lads are both better fighters than Kevin Neal for me, or that's Kevin Holland for me. And then he beat Alex Morono last time out, and that performance had finished him at the 3rd round. Like, Alex Morono is the type of guy that if you're not on it, he will beat you. Because he is just a good, honest, hard-working fighter. And Ponzinibbio was the better guy and ended up finishing him in the end of that. So you look at that comeback, right? And as I said, he took a while to come back from it, got knocked out in the first fight, but it's been 4 decisions since. Fought 3 times in 2021, twice in 2022, so he's been relatively active, and I think that's a good thing for him. Like, he comes into this at a better fighter than any time he's been in the last 4 years. And if he is that, if I'm correct in that assumption, I think he will beat Kevin Holland. Now, maybe he won't be. Maybe he'll be a little bit older. Maybe he won't be the same fighter he once was. But, like, can you just... do you know one thing as well I say about Ponzinibbio? He does what he needs to do to win. And that you can take that in a lot of different ways now. And I think Gunny Nelson will probably take it in one way, and a lot of other people will take it in a lot of other ways. But what I mean, like, I'm sure he will strike with Holland for a while. If it goes well, he'll keep doing it. If it doesn't, or if he feels like he can prey on him in a certain area, he will go for a takedown and take him down. Like, that's the sort of fighter Ponzinibbio is, and we've seen the weaknesses of Kevin Holland on the ground. We've seen him, and they haven't, you can do all the training with DC and go to AK and all you want for a couple of weeks, but you're not going to make up that deficit. And when it feels like... it does feel like Kevin Holland, like he doesn't take it seriously. It feels like, it just feels like he's kind of a part-time fighter, like, for being honest. And you see fighters, like, I talk to fighters all the time, and, I haven't spoken to him. You see Bilal Muhammad saying it like, I think, was he on with John Anik maybe he was on with, when he was on with Joe Rogan, he was saying like, there's other guys out there, and I think he was talking about Paddy Pimblett, like he's gone off on holidays and he's doing this and that, and he's like, I finished my fight, I'm helped preparing the next guy for the next fight. I'm in that gym all the time, in that room all the time, preparing, getting better and doing this, that and that to be a contender, right? I don't know, is Kevin Holland doing that? Is Ponzinibbio doing that? It feels like the last few fights have shown he is. Now, they haven't all gone for him, obviously, but we're at that level, I suppose, in the UFC right now, where the two guys are kind of hanging on to the top 15 or maybe a little bit even further down. And I think there's a big difference in there when you have one guy who is willing to do it all and is willing to do it outside the fight and inside the fight against a guy who isn't, right? And I just think that price on that fighter is why I'm going for. I'm not giving you any big technical breakdown or anything on this one. I'm going straight off the feel on that one. I'm going straight off the feel. At plus 200, I feel like Ponzinibbio against Kevin Holland. Like, does Kevin Holland have the attributes to win this fight? Absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt, he has. Without a shadow of a doubt. But do you trust him to do it? I certainly wouldn't. So I'm going for Ponzinibbio on that fight. Plus 201, I have him here. Plus 220, plus 200. We'll see the updated prices for all these bets. My guy John Brannigan will have them all on screen here. I'm recording this obviously a little bit early before it's edited, and also these prices are very volatile, especially around the midweek time. Right. Next bet I'm going for is over on PFL, and it's Rizvan Kuniev at minus 185. He's fighting Renan Ferreira, and I obviously I did the preview for this, and I watched a good bit of Kuniev. This is his debut, if I'm not mistaken, in the PFL. It is indeed. He's fought on EFC. He's fought in the Dana White Contender Series. He fought over in EFC a few times, and he's fought some good guys as well, kind of Darko Stosic, Justin Willis, and Lux. He ended up losing to both of them, but he fought Anthony Hamilton on EFC, and he won his fight in the Dana White Contender Series as well. Didn't manage to get it was in 2021, so that was when people weren't getting signed. Poor old Brendan Loughnane with his £1 million in the bank. He'll be absolutely delighted. And then his opponent, Renan Ferreira, has been around PFL for the last while. You probably know him as the 6'8" Goliath who won against Jamal Jones with that massive front kick to the face in 2022. Beaten by Ante Deliado in his last fight, and he's trying to pop back here. Look, the reason I'm going for this is pretty simple. Kuniev's a great wrestler, and he wrestles the way that you need to wrestle against Ferreira. And what I mean by that is, so Ferreira, what did I say? 6'8", 6'9". What is he? 6'8". If you go in with double legs across the cage against him, he'll just take your head off. He'll front kick you in the face. He'll knee you. He'll push your head down, jump on your back, land big shots. You're not gonna beat him. You might take him down at one stage doing that, and he might get back up. But that is. And look, it might work. I'll say that, but it's a massive risk. It's a great way to put yourself in peril to do that. It really, really is. Kuniev fights differently. He loves to fight on the inside when he's wrestling. He comes short, works his way in, gets the body lock, puts you against the cage, and pulls you down that way. And he does that. I watched, I don't know how many of his fights. 3-4 of his fights, and that is the way he wrestles. That is the way he fights, and it's tailor made for fighting Ferreira. Like, you don't want to strike with Ferreira, no matter who you are, almost in that division. You want to get inside. You want to take him down. If you do want to strike with him, you want to get inside to strike with him as well. You don't want those big long limbs jabbing you in the face or kicking you in the face or anything like that, or kicking you in the body. Look, I think Kuniev is the favourite for a reason, and I think that is the reason. Now, Ferreira has shown before that he can wrestle. He can stop lads wrestling him. And as I said, like, if he does get taken down, I think it's not a case of I think he'll get immediately finished or anything like that. I think as I said, he can fight in all areas. He's a good fighter. But another part of the main reason why I'm going for Kuniev here is he's relentless with it. He takes him down. He'll probably get to a knee. He'll probably get, to a shoulder against the cage, get back up. He'll pull him down again. He'll keep a hold of that body. He is a very, very, very talented fighter at holding on to people like that. He is a nasty Russian fighter, like so many of them have been down through the years, that once he gets a hold of you, it's very, very hard to get him off you. And, what you want to do against Renan Ferreira is get a hold of him. So that's basically the top and bottom of that. That's the reason I'm going for that bet. So Kuniev to win, straight up, plus 185. Right, let's talk about the UFC main event. And let's talk about Adesanya and Alex Pereira. I'll give you my bet first. I'm going for the over 3.5 rounds. So either guy to win, it to go over 3.5 rounds if it goes to decision. If Izzy gets the knockout after 3.5 rounds, if Alex gets the knockout, gets the submission, whatever, after 3.5 rounds, your bet wins. Minus 138. So not too far away from even money to go over 3.5 rounds. Honest to God, I'm not sure who wins this fight, but I do think it will go long. I have a theory, and I said it in a couple of shows now, but I'll say it again here because, I know a lot of people just watch this show and a lot of the betting fans, but my theory on this is, and it's not my, do you know what? It's actually not my theory. It's a theory I've picked up over the last couple of weeks. I mentioned about all the rematches and stuff, but if you think about it, and I think Luke Thomas posted a graphic there recently about people who've been knocked out in one fight and come back and win in the next fight, and it's very rare, very, very rare. I saw someone else posting about UFC title fights, someone who's been beaten and comes back and beats the same person. I think it's only happened 3 times in UFC history, only once ever from a knockout or something like that. And immediate fights, I don't think it's ever happened. So and look, those stats are not, I haven't confirmed those stats 100%, let's just put it that way, but I'm sure if someone knows that tweet I'm talking about, I saw it the other day, feel free to put it in the comment section below and we can have a look at it here. But I would tend to ignore that, but I'm not ignoring it now, because I ignored it for the Edwards-Usman fight, and I swore to myself after that, I'm not going to ignore that again, because my thinking after Edwards-Usman, right, after the middle fight, the first title fight, was Usman made a mistake. He made an error. He, he was winning the fight. He got caught. And it wasn't even necessarily that he made an error. It was that Edwards did something brilliant and miraculous. It was, a bit of an error as well, but it was mostly Edwards. But you're thinking from Usman, can he adjust to that, clean up and win the decision? I was thinking, yeah, he can. But was he a bit worse and was Edwards a bit better? Yes. And that's what happened. And whether it's mentally, whether it's physically, whether it's the change of place you are in your career in terms of being a champion to now being a contender and all of that, it changes everything. Everything changes, and it's not the same fight. We can't simply put he's going to make this one adjustment, it's going to be different, and now he's going to win. It's too simple to do that. Fights are too simple. The world is too simple. Life is too simple. Or the other way around, too complicated. It can't be that simple. Life can't be that simple. The world can't be that simple. Fighting can't be that simple. And for this one, I think, to me, the adjustment that Adesanya needs to make is even more simple than all of that. And that is that for the first 4.5 rounds of that fight, or a little bit less, he fought off the cage, and he beat Pereira pretty easily doing that, right? There was a bit of white belt jiu-jitsu in the middle of it, bit of wrestling. I spoke before the fight about, is Adesanya going to wrestle him? And there was a bit of wrestling in there. And I see a lot of people doing it again that maybe didn't do it the last time. And there could be a bit of it again, but is it going to be a major factor? Probably about the same as last time, I think. Probably about the same. I think the major factor here, though, right, is, can Adesanya do for 5 rounds what he did for 4 rounds the last time? And it's very different. Like, it was a heavy knockout, but not the same sort of knockout as Usman. It wasn't you were starch type of knockout. He was hit very, very, very hard, and it was a TKO rather than a KO. So easier, I think, mentally to recover from. Although when a guy has beaten you now, 3 times in combat sports, maybe it's a little bit different. Plus the 5th round. I remember talking to my guy Harry Powell about it, and he made the point that wasn't a technical lapse, that was a mental lapse from Adesanya in the 5th. And watching it back, it was. He's right. He's 100% right. It was a technical lapse that was caused by a mental lapse. And how can you recover from that so quickly coming into this? Like, it seems simple, right? It seems simple for a guy as good as Adesanya, right? Take another fighter, take anyone in the street. No, it's not simple. But it's simple for Adesanya because he did it so easily in the first 4 rounds of that fight, right? And here's me contradicting myself again. And this is aside from the bet, because I'm not actually picking anyone to win the bet. I'm just kind of breaking down the fight for you here. I think that analysis is sound. If Adesanya can make that slight adjustment, he can win the fight. But I also have to go back there to what I was saying. When does that happen? When do we see, and especially, right, a guy now who, like Adesanya, is probably like in the prime of his career. Could you say he's like still climbing? Could you say he's maybe, at the top of his career? Maybe he's a couple more years at the top, whatever. He's around there. He's around his prime. Could you say the same for Pereira? No. Pereira's only had, 7-8 fights. Pereira's still learning the game. Pereira, he can barely wrestle, barely any jiu-jitsu. In 10 fights time, maybe Pereira will be where Adesanya is now if he keeps going the way he is, And he'll have to learn rather quickly if he's going to continue to be champion. But you get what I mean. And when do you see a guy beat another guy when he is less experienced and in the fight again and he loses? Because, who's going to improve more from the last fight to this one? Just naturally. 6 months since the last fight? Who is going to benefit from 6 months of MMA training more? Adesanya, who's been doing it for years and years and years, or Pereira, who only kind of started doing it a few years ago to kind of chase Adesanya? I would definitely argue Pereira on that one. So I think it's a very hard fight. It's a very hard fight to call. But what I do think will happen is Adesanya will try to do what I suggested there. He will try to fight in the similar fashion that he did in the first 4 rounds, and that is controlling the area which the fight is happening in. And that area is not against the cage with his back. When he is against the cage with his back, to immediately jab his way out, use his footwork to get out, turn, twist, wrestle, whatever he needs to do. You cannot stand with your back against the cage like he did in the 5th round of that last fight and get punched. You simply cannot do it. You have to fight your way out. And I think that's why I feel like this fight will go long, because he will do that. I think he will do that. And what is Pereira going to do in this fight? I honestly don't know. I have no read on Pereira. Apart from he's going to try to push him against the cage and land those big shots. But what can he do differently to stop Adesanya doing what he did? I think it's a very hard job for Pereira to actually stop that, right? And the reason I think it's a very hard job for Pereira to stop that is because I don't think he has those necessary skills that Adesanya has in terms of managing the tempo as much. He can manage the distance well. I think it was Jack Slack put up a video of Pereira kind of pulling down one Adesanya hand to try to, with 2 of his hands to try to get inside. When he gets there, when he gets into that position, he can make things happen in a weird sort of way. But when he can't kind of control that distance, it's very tough for him. I truly believe in that 5th round. I talked about the Edwards Adesanya one. Sorry, the Edwards Usman one. It was very much Edwards. Bit of a mistake, okay, you could say it from Usman, but it was Edwards who made that happen. For me, it was Adesanya made it happen the last time. Okay, he had to go and knock him out, but Adesanya let him in to where he doesn't want to allow him to be. And he can't do that this time. And that, to me, is why I think this fight will go long. Because he will be even more safe, I think. I think he'll move even more. And I think he has great cardio as well, so I do think he can do it for 3, 4, 5 rounds. And if it's going to be one, it'll be one in one of 2 ways. It'll be one in either, is he getting knocked out maybe later when if he does get tired? Or it'll be won by Izzy on points, or it will be won by Izzy maybe not throwing enough, Pereira picking him off with a few shots throughout the round and winning a close decision. See Adesanya versus Romero in that very dull fight. I could truly see that fight happening. Truly could. I think Adesanya is going to make this one as dull as possible. That's my giant takeaway from this. And that's why I think over 3.5 rounds at minus 138 is a great bet. Right, we'll be here all day. I spent too long on that fight. The flyer of the week is, I talked about Thiago Santos from last week, and I picked it wrong based on what he had done for me before, and I'm going for that again. Now, this is the flyer, so I'm allowed to do it here, right? I'm allowed to do it here. I don't necessarily think Julia Budd will win, but Julia Budd at plus 550, I love that price so much. I think that's an absolutely fantastic price to beat Larissa Pacheco. Now, Pacheco came out and she beat Kel Harrison last time out. This is her first fight since, obviously, the new season at 145 now. I spoke about it in the preview show, so I won't dwell on it too much here, but the one issue I think I have with Pacheco is that she has spent the last 3 years trying to become a 155er. And if you go back and listen to the video I made after she beat Kayla Harrison, I said a large part of that victory and why she had lost before is now she was a genuine 155er and before she was trying to be one. And now she has to go back down and be a 145 pounder. Now you might say, Sean, what are you talking about? She's a 135er, she's a 145er. But I can't ignore that analysis that I made last year. I think it was correct. And I think she'd probably say it was correct as well. So she has to make that adjustment there. Julia Budd, a lifelong 145er, a long time anyway, a 145er. That's her natural weight class. Plus, okay, so the issue here, right, Julia Budd's lost her last 2 fights, hasn't looked particularly great. But before, and coming over to PFL, changing from Bellator and all of that, it was, could you blame that on it? Maybe there are excuses to be made, right? But if she fights the way which she fought before that in her, however how many fights, she's only lost to, before that, to Cyborg, who was it, Rousey and Nunes. If she can fight the way she was fighting in her latter Bellator run there, she has every chance of winning. Every chance of winning against Pacheco. And that's the reason I'm going for her. Now, I'm capping it on the old Bud. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But that's what the flyer is all about. It's about taking a chance. And it's when you look at that price, right? And the other flyers I'm looking at are first round knockouts, first round submissions, something like that. I think that for just someone to win straight up, who is a very good fighter, against the fighter who's coming down in weight classes, who had the biggest victory of their life last time out, which was a massive shock. Like, if this fight happened this time last year, before Bud came in and lost her a couple of fights, who would have been favourite? Who would have been? I think it probably would have been Bud. So, you're giving me plus 550 on her this time? Yeah, I'm going to take that. It's a flyer. If you gave me even money on Bud, I might take Pacheco. No problem. Absolutely. But for the flyer, I'm going to go with Bud. Right, let's look through some of the other bets and we'll fly through them here. PFL. Look, I've done a whole show talking about PFL, so there's no need to go through all of these, but I will give you a few of the prices. We just spoke about Bud Pacheco. Minus 800 for Pacheco. I think that's mad. I think it's absolutely mad. So let's see, and now the props are just coming out as well. Like the Bud by decision win is plus 700 as well. Definitely going for the plus 550 there on that one. Like Pacheco is the Pacheco by decision is plus 150 as well. A lot of people think it's going to go long. Yeah, I'm interested. But Capoloza, Sheffield. I was looking at those prices last night, looking at them when I was doing the preview, and they have moved in a little bit. Sheffield is plus 165 now, minus 190 for Capoloza. If you like the Capoloza TKO KO, it's minus 115. Now, last year, Sheffield beat him by decision. If you like that, again this year, plus 425. So you're having a rematch. You want the exact same outcome of last time. It's plus 425 for Sheffield to win the decision. Now, again, this is a rematch, and I'm allegedly picking the guy, or thinking about picking the guy who lost. But give me Capoloza straight up and give me Sheffield by decision at plus 425, please. Yeah, I'll take that, no problem. So yeah, Goltsov and De Castro. I think Goltsov is underpriced there at minus 300. I think he should be minus 5, minus 600 there. I very much see him winning that one. Could he win? Let me see the price inside the distance here. Minus 125. Yeah, I probably avoid that if I'm being honest. As I got a big hair stuck in my mouth. The Kuniev versus Ferreira fight. Now, I'm interested to see what that is as well. Fight doesn't go to a decision, minus 350. Fight does go to decision, plus 275. I don't mind that too much, because like Kuniev isn't the biggest finisher in the world in terms of... Let's just, actually, before I spew that out there, let me actually look at his finishing round. He's probably 11 wins now. He probably has 11 finishes or something like that. Well, yeah, he is 4 of his fights have gone to a decision, so he's 5 knockouts and 2 submissions, so he is good, but like this is a raise up in level as well, so we will see in that one, but I like his price straight up, so just go for that there. Aspinall as well is a big favourite at minus 245. Honestly, like watching some of Amber Leibrook, I like her a lot. I like her as a fighter. Now it's a tough test against Jandirova coming in here. I do like her as a fighter though. Her to get to knockout plus 600, plus 190 straight up. I like that an awful lot. Marcelo Nunes probably going to get the submission here. That price is plus 120. I like him to beat Maurice Green. I think he will take him down. I think he'll beat him there. Andrew Shack against Brady. Andrew definitely the favourite there. Minus 350. Brady plus 275. I think that's about right. Maka Tahina has a big favourite as well. Minus 500 against Higashai, who is plus 375. Then the UFC. Let me scroll down here and get Pereira and Adesanya. So the straight up price of this one, Adesanya is the favourite, minus 135. Pereira plus 115. As we said, the updated prices will be here. That will probably be changing. I think that'll be even by the time we kick off that fight. As I said, I give you the over 3.5 rounds at just under even money. But there are so many interesting bets. Look, again, we're having a rematch here. Do you want the exact same outcome as we had the last time? Pereira to win by knockout, plus 165. I see one place here, it's up as far as plus 220. Let's see on that one. Adesanya is around the plus 375 for the knockout, around 400 in some places here. A lot of people think he's going to wrestle again. Can Adesanya get the submission at plus 1,000? Let's see on that one. But I like this one to go along. I think this one's going to a decision. Adesanya to win the decision is plus 170. Pereira wins the decision plus 550. That was the other flyer I was looking at. I wanted to give bets from different fights, but plus 550 for Pereira to win the decision. If Adesanya fights a slower pace and Pereira just kind of touches him a few times during the fight, I could see it happening. Really, really could. Burns Masvidal, obviously I gave you my bet for that one, but the straight up price is minus 450 for Burns. Masvidal is plus 350. Yanez Font, toss of a coin fight for me, plus 155 for Font. The favourite Yanez, minus 180. I'd probably go for Yanez. I kind of agree with the bet lines here, to be honest, just about the favourite. Holland, Ponzinibbio, I'm going for obviously Ponzinibbio in that. Rosas Jr. is coming back here against Christian Rodriguez. He's minus 210. You better take those on Rosas if they're going to keep matching him, I think, like this, because he's only going to get better and better at that age now. Could he find himself in a few pitfalls at that age as well? Absolutely, but let's see on that one as he improves. Chris Curtis Gastelum, that's an interesting fight, kind of flying under the radar here. Let me just go back to Sherdog here and make sure that fight is still actually happening, because it feels like a fight. Is that fight happening? Is it on Sherdog here? Oh, it's not, is it? It's not. Okay, let's ignore that fight. I don't think that fight is actually happening. Yeah, it's not on Sherdog, so maybe it got cancelled. Anyway, who else have we? Chase Sherman and Carl Williams. I saw the guys in the preview show actually talking about this, and Chase Sherman went from who was he fighting? Huggy Bear, where he was a favourite, to now like a minus 450 underdog, which is very unfortunate for him. Lupi Godinez versus Cynthia Calvillo. Godinez is the favourite there, I think that's right, at minus 300. And there are a few more other things on it as well. Not anything massive that that stands out. Pfeiffer is only minus 190 favourite against Meerschaert, plus 165. You would never know with Meerschaert, do you? Like, you never know with him. Sometimes he's that acid test for the younger guys, sometimes he isn't. So let's wait and see on that one. All right, everyone, I will leave it there. Those are my bets for the weekend. Let's quickly recap again what we have. So we've burned inside the distance, plus 115, plus 201 for Santiago Ponzinibbio to win straight up money line. Rizvan Kuniev over in PFL, minus 185. We've the over 3.5 rounds in the main event between Pereira and Adesanya at minus 138. And the flyer of the week over in PFL is the main event there. Julia Budd to defeat Pacheco, plus 550. All right, everyone, I will leave it there. Please leave me your best bet for the week in the comment section down below here on YouTube. Let me know who you're picking. What's your best bet for the week? I'll leave it there. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.